All eyes on the SAARC summit that kicks off in Nepal tomorrow. All eyes not just on the summit itself, but also on the sidelines. Remember, in the same city, Nepal's capital city, Kathmandu, is our Prime Minister Narendra Modi, several other country leaders, notably Nawaz Sharif, the Prime Minister of Pakistan. I'm going to hand you over now to Rahul Kanwal in Kathmandu to take you through our run-up coverage to the SAARC summit from Kathmandu.
Good evening and a very warm welcome. You're watching a Headlines Today special broadcast being brought to you tonight from Kathmandu. We're at the venue of the India Today Global Roundtable. Through the day today, top leaders of SAARC countries spoke about finding a way of enhancing regional cooperation. But the key focus through the day was on India and Pakistan once again, and on that billion-dollar question on whether the Prime Ministers of Pakistan and India will meet on the sidelines of the SAARC summit. Will the ice that's frozen over the relationship melt in Kathmandu or not? On this special center stage tonight, we'll get you excerpts from a session that we did today with Ashraf Ghani, the President of Afghanistan, speaking to an Indian audience for the first time. We'll also get you excerpts from sessions on India and Pakistan. We had Hina Rabbani Khar, the former Pakistan Foreign Minister, with us today. She was facing off with Manish Tiwari and Nalin Kohli from the BJP. But I want to start center stage tonight by looking first at Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Kathmandu. He came here, he dedicated a trauma center to Nepal. An advanced light helicopter was given to the Nepali army. But more importantly, Nawaz Sharif said that he's willing to speak to Prime Minister Narendra Modi on any issue of bilateral interest, but the effort must come from India. The first step must be taken by India. The MEA says they're waiting for Pakistan to ask for a meeting, which hasn't happened so far. There's a game of brinksmanship taking place here in Kathmandu. Gaurav Sawant and Smita Sharma file our top story tonight.
A trauma center and a direct bus service from Delhi to Kathmandu. In Nepal for the 18th SAARC summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi made another big diplomatic push.
इस ट्रॉमा सेंटर का अपग्रेडेशन करना होगा, टेक्नोलॉजी सपोर्ट की आवश्यकता होगी, ह्यूमन रिसोर्स डेवलपमेंट की आवश्यकता होगी। भविष्य में भी इस काम में नेपाल के साथ रहेगा, पूरी सहायता करता रहेगा।
Modi landed in Kathmandu around 2:45 p.m. India time and was greeted by a crowd of enthusiastic locals who lined up the route to his hotel. The Prime Minister is expected to discuss a range of issues at the summit, including liberalizing trade and enhancing cooperation in the fields of education and healthcare. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj met with Pakistan's National Security Advisor Sartaj Aziz. The two had an informal discussion that lasted about 10 minutes. There is, however, no official word on a bilateral meeting between Narendra Modi and Nawaz Sharif from either side.
ये तो सामान्य शिष्टाचार कहीं भी होता है, मिनिमम कर्टसी है। अगर एक इंटरनेशनल मीटिंग में देश अलग-अलग देशों के लोग मिलते हैं तो आपस में नमस्कार करते हैं, सामान्य शिष्टाचार निभाते हैं, उसी के नाते हम लोग मिले।
With his trip to Janakpur cancelled off, Narendra Modi might not have gifted those bicycles to the people there, but he clearly did gift that Pashupatinath bus service to the people of India and Nepal. The daily bus service which will now be operating between New Delhi and Kathmandu. Also, the line of credit agreement, $1 billion, which was inked in today, true to his promise, to the words that he of course spoke when he visited Nepal in August. Clearly Narendra Modi's message to Kathmandu: we take you seriously and do not deal with you simply as big brothers. With video journalist Alok Bhatnagar in Kathmandu, this is Smita Sharma for Headlines Today.
Our first session this morning at the India Today Global Roundtable in Kathmandu was on whether India and Pakistan can be friends. Hina Rabbani Khar, the former Foreign Minister of Pakistan, took a very strident position, saying that she's turned from being an optimist to a pessimist on India and Pakistan, and that there's huge disappointment with the aggressive position that's been taken by the new Modi government. We now get you key excerpts from that session that featured Hina Rabbani Khar, Manish Tiwari and Nalin Kohli. One of the biggest obstacles holding back SAARC from taking off has been the problem in the relationship between India and Pakistan. Can India and Pakistan truly be friends, or are we condemned to be enemies forever?
From our perspective, and since I'm not in government, so I can speak my mind a little more freely. From our perspective, there are too many conflicting and contradictory or contradictions within Pakistan. It almost appears that, it is combustible internally. And these conflicting centers of power almost require a deflection from the internal issues towards looking at India with a slightly more strident view. And that almost gets fixated to the issue of Jammu and Kashmir. So that's almost like the fixed agenda. Now, this vast strategy has not taken us anywhere significantly ahead. There's no doubt that there is a severe sense of restrictions in how we look at achieving friendship between our two countries at a people-to-people level. And there are many votaries within this room who have eminently spoken about it, even on various fora like this. That yes, there exists a great constituency for peace, there's a great affinity for peace. There is also a constituency in both countries, and perhaps many of them are sitting here. But in our assessment, or at least in my personal assessment, acknowledgement and acceptance of what are the internal situations within Pakistan is a necessary first step forward, because deflection will get us nowhere, and it'll only take us farther from the truth. Until we get to this in terms of approaching it honestly, we will not be able to bridge the trust deficit, which is enormous. There is a trust deficit. Until there is trust, there can be no meaningful relationship. I think in the government that we have, since one of the reasons being it's a full majority government, it's not hampered by any coalition restrictions. In the leadership of Mr. Modi, there is almost a fast-paced approach towards many things. There's clarity, there's direction, there's movement further. Perhaps because India and India's aspirations are impatient, that they want to see those aspirations fly. I'm sure such a situation exists in many countries. So therefore, it's not a business-like usual approach. And that's where perhaps when you say that red lines don't exist, the red lines have come forward. It's a frank acknowledgement of what are our sensibilities and our sensitivities.
There was great hope which had emerged out of a complete negative perception of Prime Minister Modi in Pakistan. We all know that the Gujarat crisis, or whatever you may want to call it, had an overhang over Prime Minister Modi's reputation before he became Prime Minister. However, when he came with a surging two-third majority, I think Pakistan did what any country or any state, what smart statesmanship would require for you to do, is to put the past behind and look at the opportunity that stares you in the face. And despite opposition from some channels, certainly not the Pakistan People's Party, Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif took the opportunity when it was presented to him to come to the SAARC, to his swearing-in ceremony. And from there, I remember I was in New Delhi at that time, and I was asked the question by Karan Thapar in an interview that what do you see, and there are lots of people who are against Modi. And I said I will stand out and say that I have great hope from Prime Minister Modi, because he comes as a strong leader with two-third majority, and I would hope that this would encourage him to write his name in history as the game changer, not as somebody who evokes or strokes the same sentiments of hatred, of animosity, of antagonistic behavior.
What does a tough line mean? Does a tough line mean that we put up a wall from Kashmir to Kathiawar and forget that Pakistan exists, and Pakistan also goes and climbs a tall, tall tree and forgets that India exists? Is that the tough line that we are talking of? Number two, is the tough line that we are talking about, is it hot pursuit? Is the tough line that we are talking about aggression? I think these are completely and absolutely immature and childish paradigms, if at all anybody is even contemplating them. The fact is that you are two nuclear armed states. You have a history of contention. You've been, unfortunately, joined by geography but serrated by history. And that's a reality that you have to live with. Now, you can live with that reality in two ways. Either continue to be antagonistic, and as the former foreign minister was saying, all of us grow up. I'm going to be almost pushing 50. And in the last 5 decades, all that we have seen is this frozen turbulence.
When you hear leaders from both India and Pakistan take such strong positions, you really wonder if at all we'll ever be able to reach a position where that question gets answered with an affirmative yes, and India and Pakistan become friends. But as one of our panelists said, let them first become civilized neighbors at least. The best session of the day, to my mind, was the keynote address by Afghanistan's new president, Ashraf Ghani. Comes from an academic background. He made a stellar address which lit up the audience over here. He spoke from the heart and spoke about how he was confident that the Afghanistan army will be able to withstand the pressure of the Taliban. And he said that no matter what happens, once the Americans leave, there is no question of the people of Afghanistan allowing the Taliban to make a comeback. Here are excerpts from the session here with Ashraf Ghani, the new president of Afghanistan. This is an India Today group exclusive.
If you look into the World Economic Forum's index, economic index, or competitiveness index, you see on one column it says factor, productivity, then it's transition, then it's efficiency, then it's innovation. These are, they call them stages, but they're not stages because they exist simultaneously. What is the condition of all of South Asian states? Factor-driven production. Not a single state in South Asia or country in South Asia is at the level of efficiency or at the level of innovation. And this is where we both see our inheritance and yet the possibility. India's phenomenal growth has lifted all of South Asia and opened up the possibility. But enormous amount remains to get to the level of either China, to the type of strategies of China, or that of Singapore. And here we come to the limitations of the space. Our region is such that you could have breakfast in Delhi, lunch in Lahore, dinner in Kabul, and be next day in Dushanbe or Tashkent, all by road. But can you imagine how many obstacles there are? How many border points you need to cross, how many papers you need to fill, how many farms you must contend. Say, take any direction of movement. Movement of people, movement of goods. They are all constrained. Where we have freedom, of course, is in movement of ideas. And that means all of us can watch Bollywood. But even in movement of ideas, the nature of linkages is not focused on fundamental debates. If you look at European integration, networks, political party networks that were cross-national and transatlantic networks were important to this. Here we still have incipient movement, but not fundamental shift. Because of it, the key in the future lies in market integration and prosperity.
I don't only write about failed states, I also will fix them. Ashraf Ghani sounding very confident while speaking here at the India Today Global Roundtable. He's pressing the right buttons, but will his army be able to withstand the Taliban once the Americans are gone? That's the key question, and words alone can't answer that. On the sidelines of the SAARC summit, there was an interesting development where China said that they wanted to be a part of the SAARC formulation. In fact, the government in Nepal too seems to be quite keen on finding a way of making Beijing a part of the SAARC Federation. Take a look at this report.
From roads to highway projects to the City Hall hosting the 18th SAARC summit, there is visible Chinese investment in Kathmandu. An observer country in the South Asian Regional Cooperation Forum, China has shown interest in an upgraded status in the grouping. But despite its observer status since 2005, it is yet to apply for a full membership, the first step needed in this direction. SAARC today has 8 member states and 9 observers, including United States, European Union, Myanmar. China also enjoys deep linkages with SAARC members, especially Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Maldives and Nepal. While there's considerable interest to engage further with China, there is no proposal yet to include it as a SAARC member. This was not on the agenda of the SAARC foreign ministers as they met in Kathmandu.
May see greater engagement by observer countries in different SAARC countries. This may happen bilaterally. It's already happening bilaterally. It may happen multilaterally, but I don't see any possibility of China becoming a member of SAARC in this summit at least. And as far as Nepal is concerned, Nepal's closest ties are with India.
Perhaps something of the kind of ASEAN-India framework we have, where SAARC on its own will, the entire body will negotiate with China and will interact with China. But there is no official proposal.
SAARC, which has mostly been overshadowed by India-Pakistan relations and not really taken off in all these years, is now focusing on connectivity and commerce for deeper integration. And China's arrival here could mean both advantage and competition.
While no official move has been made for China's entry into SAARC as a full member, but Beijing might just be expecting a trade-off with New Delhi on this issue. Given that India has been upgraded at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and also the path has been cleared for its entry into the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation. In Kathmandu with video journalist Alok Bhatnagar, this is Smita Sharma for Headlines Today.
That's all we have time for on this special edition of Center Stage being brought to you tonight from Kathmandu. Through the day tomorrow and day after, our crews will be out at the Salty Hotel and at the retreat where Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Pakistan's Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif will be ensconced in the same room. Will the ice melt? Will be our key focus. Also, looking beyond just India and Pakistan, how can we take relations with Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and Bhutan further is also something our teams will be focusing on very, very closely. I hope you've enjoyed our coverage on what's been a very busy day for us and also a very newsy day. We'll be back tomorrow. Till then, from all of us here on the Center Stage team. Of the India Today Global Roundtable. Through the day today, top leaders of SAARC countries spoke about finding a way of enhancing regional cooperation. But the key focus through the day was on India and Pakistan once again, and on that billion-dollar question on whether the Prime Ministers of Pakistan and India will meet on the sidelines of the SAARC summit. Will the ice that's frozen over the relationship melt in Kathmandu or not? On this special Center Stage tonight, we'll get you excerpts from a session that we did today with Ashraf Ghani, the President of Afghanistan, speaking to an
All eyes on the SAARC summit that kicks off in Nepal tomorrow. All eyes not just on the summit itself, but also on the sidelines. Remember, in the same city, Nepal's capital city, Kathmandu, is our Prime Minister Narendra Modi, several other country leaders, notably Nawaz Sharif, the Prime Minister of Pakistan. I'm going to hand you over now to Rahul Kaval in Kathmandu to take you through our run-up coverage to the SAARC summit from Kathmandu.
Good evening and a very warm welcome. You're watching a Headlines Today special broadcast being brought to you tonight from Kathmandu. We're at the
ह्यूमन रिसोर्स डेवलपमेंट की आवश्यकता होगी। भविष्य में भी इस काम में नेपाल के साथ रहेगा, पूरी सहायता करता रहेगा।
Modi landed in Kathmandu around 2:45 p.m. India time and was greeted by a crowd of enthusiastic locals who lined up the route to his hotel. The Prime Minister is expected to discuss a range of issues at the summit, including liberalizing trade and enhancing cooperation in the fields of education and healthcare. External Affairs
Indian audience for the first time. We'll also get you excerpts from sessions on India and Pakistan. We had Hina Rabbani Khar, the former Pakistan foreign minister, with us today. She was facing off with Manish Tiwari and Nalin Kohli from the BJP. But I want to start center stage tonight by looking first at Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Kathmandu. He came here, he dedicated a trauma center to Nepal. An advanced light helicopter was given to the Nepali army. But more importantly, Nawaz Sharif said that he is willing to speak to Prime Minister Narendra Modi on any issue of bilateral interest, but the effort must come from India. The first step must be taken by India. The MEA says they're waiting for Pakistan to ask for a meeting, which hasn't happened so far. There's a game of brinksmanship taking place here in Kathmandu. Gaurav Sawant and Smita Sharma file our top story tonight.
A trauma center and a direct bus service from Delhi to Kathmandu. In Nepal for the 18th SAARC summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi made another big diplomatic push.
इस ट्रॉमा सेंटर का अपग्रेडेशन करना होगा, टेक्नोलॉजी सपोर्ट की आवश्यकता